Since I started the Real Estate Uncovered series about 15 weeks ago, I've had approximately 20 or so people reach out to me by either voice call, text message, private message, or even in person. And their comments or remarks are revolving around how they are concerned for my personal safety. They believe that the people I'm dealing with here in the real estate industry, the people that I'm talking about on a day-to-day basis, are mentally unstable. And although I agree, I do have to state that I am well aware of what these people are capable of. And I say that because approximately 8 or 9 years ago, I was doing an inspection and a 50-pound chunk of concrete fell out of an attic space and hit me in the head. And that's not even the juiciest part. The juiciest part is that a realtor owned the home. Now, before we head inside and I give you guys the full scoop on this story, I'm sure you guys are just dying to know who owned the house, which realtor, right? Well, let's find out. Okay guys, back in the office here to give you the full scoop on this story so that you can truly understand what transpired. Back in the spring of 2015, I put a quick letter together, just a couple paragraphs. I hand delivered that letter to all the brokerages, and it simply contained a couple paragraphs of me stating how access to attic spaces was becoming a problem due to homeowner storage and belongings. Now, home inspectors are not permitted to touch homeowner storage and belongings, and because of that, it was causing problems with buyers because buyers are typically not going to buy a house unless the attic space has been looked at. So I simply just put a letter together to ask realtors and all the brokerages for a little bit of help. Hey, could you inform your sellers to maybe be mindful of making sure that attic spaces are accessible? So I did that. I delivered all these letters. It was met with nothing but the one finger salute from literally all of them, and even one brokerage actually kicked me out and told me never to come back. Okay guys, like I said, that letter went out in the spring of 2015. Now in the summer of 2015, on August 28th, 2015, I showed up to 274 Wellington Drive. There's the listing. I kept it after all these years because I knew I would need it. I showed up to this property. It's approximately 10 a.m. in the morning, and the realtor that was mutually serving the buyers with me showed up to let me in. She let me in, she left. I went along, did my inspection. When I came to the attic hatch in the garage, I noticed that the makeshift shelving that you guys can see in the photo there, the pallet wasn't there. Okay, it was just the framing and it was just the drywall that they were using for shelving. That was all that was there, and I made the determination that it was unsafe for me to access. So I just photographed it, moved on. When my client showed up for the consultation about an hour later, the realtor and the client were both there. I explained to them that I would not be able to safely access this attic space due to what's actually going on in the garage right now with this makeshift shelving. I would have to come back and do it at another date. So my client says to the realtor, hey, I'm not buying this house unless Mark gets in the attic space. It's an important system to the home, and I want him in there if I'm going to spend my money on this place. So that realtor went back to the realtor that owned the house and said, hey, like you need to make this accessible. It's not safe in its present condition. So that night, so the night of August 28th, 2015, that realtor that owned the house went back there and someone put that pallet, okay, because that pallet wasn't there on day one. Someone put that pallet there so that I could get up there and inspect that attic space. So on August 29th, I came back. So day two, I came back, set my ladder up. The realtor that was mutually serving the buyers with me was there, let me in the property. We both went into the garage. I set my ladder up. I went up, got up on that pallet, moved the hatch out of the way, and I got smucked in the head with a 50-pound chunk of concrete. Now, when that happened, it made such a noise that the realtor that was mutually serving the buyers with me was on the ground. She couldn't see what was going on. So when that happened, she said, what was that? And I had my eyes closed at that point because I just got smucked in the head with a huge piece of concrete. Now, I didn't know what it was, but when she said that, I said, I think it's a rock. And then I opened my eyes and could see that it was a 50-pound chunk of concrete. All right, guys, just to kind of sum things up here, in the end, the clients actually walked away from the property because they were just rattled that this actually happened. That was the reason that they walked away. When they found out that a chunk of concrete fell out and hit me in the head, they just went, see you later. So they walked away from the property. I think what bothers me probably the most is even to this very day, 10 years later, I never even got an apology. Nothing. Not even a text message. You know, usually people, genuine, authentic good people would generally probably at the very least send a text message out saying, hey, like, wow, I'm sorry. That's obviously not something that I did. But anyways, I never got an apology for any of that. Something else I want to add to this, you guys, that I feel is very important, especially 10 years later, is a little bit of math. And just going to look down here at my sheet. So in my career here now, 13 years, I've performed 3,500 inspections. Actually, I'm north of that. I'm probably close to 3,600. I do have to take 700 of those inspections off because from 2017 to 2021, I was a real estate consultant for the insurance industry. And those 700 inspections, there was no accessing attic spaces. Those inspections were a little bit different of a beast. It's kind of like a half a building inspection, kind of more of a half a survey on the business. And all 700 of those were commercial inspections. So we end up with 2,800 inspections for the real estate industry in my career. And I averaged out approximately 1.75 attic hatches per property. Some properties, or most properties, have 2, some have 3, some maybe even have 4. Sometimes they don't have any. But I average it out at 1.75, which brings us to a number of 4,900 attic hatches have been accessed by me in my 13-year career as a real estate professional. And nothing has fallen out of those attic spaces more than dust or attic insulation, except for 274 Wellington Drive. It's the only property where something fell out and hit me in the head, and it just so happened to be a 50-pound chunk of concrete. Lastly, guys, I want to make a couple of statements here, a couple of declarations. Do I believe that that chunk of concrete was put there to cause me physical harm or even end my life? I do not, actually. Do I believe that that chunk of concrete was put there on the night of August 28th, 2015 to send me a message, not realizing that it could have caused me physical harm or even ended my life, being that I was 14 feet in the air and could have fallen off and broken my neck or my back? I do believe that it was put there to send me a message. Also, I want to be abundantly clear about something. I am not doing today's video to garner sympathy from you, the masses. Rather, I am doing this entire series, this entire Real Estate Uncovered series, so that there is a record of what transpired over my career as a real estate professional. Back in 2023, I became very ill. In fact, I almost kicked the bucket. And I can remember laying in the hospital bed, and I remember this as sick as I was, I can remember this gut-wrenching feeling that I would get when I would think about all the knowledge I have and all the stories and all the things that I've experienced, how they would just go by the wayside and they just get buried if I had passed away. And I kept saying to myself that I got better, and if I got out of this hospital, how I would do something about it. And that is why I have put this series together. This series is not to drum up business or to convince you guys of any of these stories. This is so there is a record. I hope you guys really enjoyed today's episode. As always, knowledge is power, and we'll see you on the next one.